I'm working with a hospital and its many clinics in Texas. And I was brought in to do work around engagement. The organization felt that they had read so much about engagement's the way to go, but they weren't really sure what that is. So I was brought in to work with a team of frontline leaders up through managers to develop a baseline survey for them to get a feel for how engaged their associates were in the organization. With that, we conducted the first survey they've had the first engagement survey they've ever had. And then my responsibility came to work with that team to recommend actions for any of the topics that came out as areas of need. And those areas were around leadership, communication, and some of the typical things you see, but they got some great baseline data. Accountability was an issue, holding people accountable to goals, confronting performance issues, resolving conflict, and then I would call it just the back to basic leadership skills were missing because they hadn't had leadership training in a long time, 8 to 10 years since they had had any kind of leadership training. And the need was there not only for frontline leaders, but all the way up to the executive team. Created a class, Managing Your Development. It was intended to help 3 groups of people in the organization develop their skills. One was experienced leaders who may not have had training for a while and may be stuck in their ways. Brand new leaders who were thrown to the wolves basically without any kind of training and were struggling and putting pressure on themselves to try to be good leaders with no support. A special interest of mine was aspiring leaders, people who wanted to be leaders in the future and we thought were solid performers. We put together, based on the engagement data, topics that we thought should be built into a leadership curriculum. And I felt strongly that they needed coaching as much as they needed training, and Strong for Performance fit that bill perfectly. It not only gave them lots of content for the people skills portions of the training that all have videos, but the coaching that could go with it in a very time-effective way, just-in-time kind of coaching. So they would watch a video, do the exercises which had them translated to their daily work and their needs. Well, sometimes it was for life situations as well as work situations. But then to get feedback from a person who in this case was me, in terms of, do they get the learning points from the video? Are there other ways they could think about approaching the situation that they had just described? So expand their thinking a bit in terms of how to use the skills they just saw in the video and put it to work on a daily basis. In all the classes we've had, which is now 90-some people, universal support for using the coaching and using the content for Strong for Performance, as a way to learn in a really just-in-time sort of basis. They're big fans of it. A lot of people felt, like experienced leaders felt that, well, I used to think I was pretty good at this, but I guess I was just winging it. So having some defined steps that the videos often shared in terms of how to address things like delegation, resolving conflict, providing feedback. They got a structure and a process and downloadable tools that they could use to support it on a daily basis. The new leaders thought everything was wonderful because they had never had any training before. And the aspiring leaders were in the same boat. And in many cases, just built their confidence that they could be a leader. Because in healthcare, being a leader is pretty tough. The industry is going through a lot of change. If they've never had the training, they've never had the exposure, they just see what their leader goes through day by day and says, geez, I wonder if I could do that. So the just-in-time nature of it, it's quick. The videos are anywhere from like 5 to 15 minutes. So they can do it on their own time. It was very concrete and specific for them, which a lot of nurses really like. And really, they're big fans. Strong for Performance works best, though, when you have the coach that goes with it that can challenge some of their thinking, expand some of their thinking. And in my case, I was able to also point them to other people who had skills in those areas who could be ongoing coaches, resources, templates, tools. This last go around, the most recent class, and we took the more resources section of Strong for Performance and built in 40 to 45 different tools that are specific to the organization that they have used in meetings or training sessions or articles they found that they'd like to share with others. So we built into Strong for Performance a lot of tools that were some of their favorites and some of the ones they went to the most. So we made a great tool even more wonderful and more specific to their organization. There's lots of examples on the feedback from the participants, especially when we started using the reflection exercises more frequently, having to look back at situations they had faced in the past that maybe didn't go as well as they thought they could, and have a disciplined process for them to rethink, to reflect back on, geez, I could have done this, or boy, if I had done that, it would have been probably a lot easier for me and the person I'm working with. And so we had many people report back on reflections on conflicts among people on their team, providing performance feedback in particular, addressing conflict situations. I'd say 40% of our reflections were actually around life situations, working with a child, working with a spouse, neighbors at home. And that was part of the deal, is you can use this in work and life. The skills apply in both situations. From a manager's perspective, one of my favorite stories is that for the first class, there was a leader who was struggling with one of the leaders who reported to her. And she was asking for some coaching from me. And I said, well, we're getting ready to experiment with this first class, managing your development. Do you think it might be appropriate for this person to be in there? She said, well, let's give it a try. And so we did. 2 months into the class, I got an email saying, I cannot believe this is the same person. The person she had recommended was giving a presentation around conflict skills. And she said, she is so positive, she's so confident, she's so articulate. I just cannot believe this is the person that we sent to that class a few months ago. So we can have all kinds of data, and we have some, but those anecdotes are the ones that really mean the most to me. And that person actually is one of our biggest cheerleaders and has referred many people into the subsequent classes of managing your development. Her feeling is like, everybody needs to be in this class. We've done the engagement survey twice since the original baseline data. And in the first year, there were really dramatic increases around communication, around leadership visibility, leadership skills. But with the results of each survey, we target some areas for improvement, because we can't improve everything everywhere all at the same time. And so leadership was a big part of our focus. And so there are 7 of the 19 questions in the survey that deal specifically with leadership skills, providing feedback, open and honest communication, things like that. And so for the 7 questions that were specific to leader skills, they went up an average of 5.5%, 6%, building on a base of like 78, 82%. When you get that high, you don't really expect that level of improvement. And even though we can't isolate that this training is the only thing that affected the scores, we know that it was a big player because it showed up in the comments that people made about the survey. In addition to the managing your development, for our clinics, and there's like 19 clinics, every leader up through the head of nursing participated in a monthly class that we called the clinic leadership class, and Strong for Performance was a part of that class also. And they had the exact same feedback that managing and development did. I'd say the management development feedback was probably stronger because they had a lot more work to do. Not only did they have multiple homework exercises after every class, they had to develop 60-day implementation plans to make a big change in their work area. They had to give presentations to audiences throughout the organization. And part of their requirement to do that was they had to go into Strong for Performance and use skills. Like for presentations, they went in and used making a presentation and overcoming stage fright. So they actually used Strong for Performance content on every exercise that they had over the 7 months of the class. The final class is this week, but they did their evaluations last week. And it's interesting that as busy as these people are, and they have so many things going on at the hospital and the clinics, that their suggestions were there should be more Strong for Performance. It was hard for them to find time to get to class, and I applaud the leadership for supporting them to be in class. And their feedback was more, Strong for Performance. When we did our first Managing Your Development, the class was 4 sessions, and they recommended it be 7. The second class who had 7 recommended it be 8. This group recommended we have more Strong for Performance. So something's working. And it's just so easy to use. It is just in time, and it really meets them where they are. It's not too academic. It's very practical, but the theory's there as they introduce the practical. Like, here's why this is important. And I think that resonates with everybody who's been in that class, whether they're aspiring leaders, new leaders, or experienced leaders. I found that it helped me refresh my own skills and my own resource availability, because you get into the same pattern of, I've done this course a million times, what's a new twist on it? And here's new resources all over the place. I think the personal strength section also gives me icebreakers, team building exercises, reflections that supplement the training content. It also gives you more tools in your toolkit, and you can never have enough of those. For anybody who does coaching in particular, or anybody who's a human resources or employee relations professional, I think it's tools that they need in their toolkit. And it's so easy to use. My customers just really love it. It's a wonderful resource, and I think from a coach's standpoint, it's really terrific.